I'd like to include a section of this podcast in my reflection. To do that, I need to find the time period, the starting time of what I want to record on the podcast and the ending time. It starts at about almost 3 minutes in, and it goes for just under a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that, listen to it until I'm done, and then stop recording.
Either in terms of this research or in other ways?
Well, in many ways, social media has definitely helped my career. Just being more well-known tends to help, even...
Now that I'm done recording the podcast, I am going to go back to Camtasia, drag the playhead to where I want to insert the podcast, go to the clip in here and grab the podcast and drag it in. Oh, that's the wrong file. What I meant to do was this one. Here we see the podcast, the video, and the screen file. Since it's a podcast, I don't really need the video, so I'm just going to delete that.
Funding agencies that are on Twitter, and they tweet about sort of how to get their grants and how to get their stuff. And so you can really use it a lot of different ways.
And how would you say that...
As you can hear, before the interviewer asks the question, I've got a little bit of the answer from the previous question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that part out. To do that, I'm going to zoom in and listen to it a few times, trying to find the area where she stops talking.
A lot of different ways.
And before the interviewer starts the question again, like here. And then I'm going to split it and delete the section.
And how would you say that social media has helped you in your...
There, see? Now that I've got the podcast front part clipped off, I want to make sure that the audio starts right after my previous audio clip. So I drag it next to the previous group where it says Hadfield. Easier if you move the playhead there.
And how...
And just to make sure that there's no extra loss of audio. Gained popularity with the general public, without Hadfield ever having to post much about his scientific findings.
And how would you say that social media has helped...
There we go, no extra loss of audio. But, now that it's changing speakers, maybe I do actually want to, have a little bit of a pause. So I'm going to drag it over a few seconds, and I'm going to then take the title screen. Now I'm going to go capture the title screen. For the title screen, to the title screen that's going to introduce this podcast, I want to be able just to have this clip of text right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my Camtasia capture window a little bit smaller just to focus on this text so that I don't see the Word document. And then I'm going to capture it for maybe a few seconds. And then I can adjust the clip speed however I want so that the this title screen introducing the podcast will last as long as I need it to. Okay. I see it now in Camtasia right here. I labeled it podcast intro. So I'm going to drag that down, and as you can see, it's a fairly small file. Just want to make sure that it lines up with the ending of the previous group. And just so that there's enough time to read it, I'm going to adjust the clip speed, making the clip speed at a lower percentage than the original clip speed. And now that I've edited it, I can just grab it and slide however I want for a more qualitative measure. So now when I play the sample, here, let me play with it from a little bit from the previous. Ever having to post much about his scientific findings.
And how would you say that social media has helped you in your career, either in terms of this research or in other ways?
Well,
Alright, ZC can work. Now what I want to do is also overlay some text over this podcast. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is go to the web page. Alright, this is the web page that I want to be able to also have text going on while the podcast is being played. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll to the top and adjust my Camtasia window to the proper size, and then I'm going to start recording and just slowly scroll down the side. That way I know I have enough time that I can stop and read if I need to, or adjust the clip speed and so that the clip will take the right amount of length. Now, this paragraph right here that I'm circling with the mouse is one that I may want to talk about later. So, I may want to stop here, so that way I can zoom in on that paragraph later on. Okay, now that I'm done recording the article, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it in to Camtasia here. How about here? As you can see, I scroll through and around. I want the clip speed to match. I want the clip to end at the end of the podcast. So at the end of the podcast clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the clip speed a little bit, make it a little bit faster, and then I'm going to drag the slider in until it lines up right here, so it's flush with the end of the podcast audio. Now, if I...
And how would you say that social media has helped you in your
article
career, either in terms of this research or in
article
other
takes
ways?
over the title screen.
well, in many ways, social media has
But as
definitely
you
helped
can
my
see, it's
career.
tough to read
Just
the
being
article.
more
So what I'm going to do is, starting when I first start seeing the article, I'm going to add a zoom. Here's pan and zoom. So by resizing in this window, I can choose, and panning, I can choose where on the web page will be zoomed in. I'm going to make it a little bit larger so I can see from multiple areas. And now that I'm done with that, I can change the transition time by dragging this arrow. So if I want to watch the clip,
Has helped you in your career, either
that zoom's too slow. How about if I adjust a little bit?
in terms of this research or in other ways?
Well, in many ways, social media has definitely helped my career. Just being more well-known tends to help, even from a scientist perspective, even though I don't blog very often about my own research or about what I do. When I'm at...
And that's how you do it. That's how you make Camtasia. It was a fun semester, and have a good rest of the summer.